Welcome back. No one likes to talk about death and funerals, but why would you leave funeral planning to grieving family members? Here now is President of McCall Gardens, Trevor McCall, to discuss the benefits of pre-planning your own funeral. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sybil.
Now, people don't normally get all happy and excited about, I'm going to plan a funeral today. But why should people think about planning a funeral?
There are so many reasons to pre-plan your funeral or cremation, and the number one reason is to help your family when the time does come. So pre-planning your funeral, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and eliminating those decisions for your family when the time does come is a wonderful gift to them.
Well, yeah, because I imagine it's the last thing they want to be thinking about. They are just dealing with a loss, and that's where their mind is. They don't want to have to go in and pick out coffins or urns or flowers and music and all those types of things. It can be overwhelming.
It definitely can be overwhelming, and they're in a stage of grief, in a moment of grief. So to make those decisions while grieving makes it that much more difficult.
So what are some of the decisions people need to make? Walk me through beginning to end. I'm going to come in and plan my own funeral. What do I need to know?
One of the main decisions to make is whether it's going to be cremation or burial. Along with that, there's service options. Whether you have a service, whether it be at a funeral home or at a church or at another venue. And then we can go into very much more detail, including what type of casket, what type of urn, will there be a viewing or a visitation, what flowers do you want, or memorial cards. Where would you like to be remembered as far as if you wanted to have a headstone or a memorial bench. So there's 1,000 different decisions to be made. And if they can be made in advance, it makes it that much easier for families.
Well, my husband and I talk about this sometimes. We have different viewpoints on it. I know he would like a marker somewhere. We both want to be cremated, but I don't really care. Like, I think a bench sounds kind of nice, but it's not for me, but it's for all the surviving family members. Maybe they want somewhere to go to think about me, but maybe they won't care.
No, definitely. And the one thing that we definitely recommend is talking to your family about the different options to see what is best for them. Because for you, you mentioned you don't care, but your children or your spouse, it may matter to them. And to have a final place where people can visit is important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And for others, it's not.
I know. And then I think, well, if my husband's got a marker and I don't, is that going to be weird? I just want to be with him forever.
Exactly. So to each their own.
So we better talk about this in advance. What about cost? Is it expensive to do the pre-planning?
No, there's no cost to pre-plan. Someone can go into a funeral home and make all those decisions in advance without paying a dime, or they have the option to prepay. And if they do prepay, those funds go into an insurance policy or a trust account. And then when the death happens, the funds get then paid to the funeral home.
Okay, so if I want to prepay, so then my family not only doesn't have the emotional decision-making burden, but they don't have the financial burden either. That sounds kind of nice.
Definitely.
What about inflation? So if what costs me a few $1,000s today may cost a lot more, hopefully I'm around for many more years.
Yeah.
Do I have to pay more money later?
No. So the funeral home, and it would be important to talk to each funeral home, but many guarantee their service fees and the merchandise paid for at the time. So if you were to pay $5,000 today, those funds grow over the years, and whether it be in 5 years or 20 years, there's no additional expense to the family at the time. Those funds are paid to the funeral home to cover the costs.
Okay, so you've got that peace of mind, it's done. What if I change my mind? What if I thought I wanted something simple now and I want something a little bit more complex later?
You can make changes to it at any time. Additionally, if you were to move to a different city, you can transfer that to a different funeral home. Or if life circumstances change, you can cancel it completely and get your money back.
Oh, so you're not locked in?
You're not locked in.
There's no excuses then, really.
There really is no good excuse. And the number one reason people don't do it is one, because they say they don't have the time, or they don't want to talk about it with their spouse or their children.
I can see that. I know another reason is maybe you don't want to jinx it. You don't want to plan something that you really are in denial about. You don't want it to ever happen. But guess what? It's gonna happen one day. The one thing we're all guaranteed to do is die at some point.
That's right.
Yeah, so planning ahead. Now, which is more expensive? The getting buried or cremated?
Getting buried is more expensive. One, because you have to purchase the property. If you're cremated, you don't have
You
to.
need a big piece of land.
Exactly, and the cost of real estate is not inexpensive for sure.
Right.
And along with burial comes often more elaborate caskets. So those are the two, the property and the casket, which may add to the cost over cremation.
Yeah, and my grandfather, he was terrified of water, so he wanted a waterproof vault for his casket to go in. I think that cost a few extra dollars.
There is, like we said, there's many options, and the vault or the outside liner for the casket is an option for people.
Okay, so no excuses, get pre-planning. Trevor, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Sybil.